Why should a developer or tech-savvy person move to Vancouver?
Well, it's just quite simply one of the best startup ecosystems in the world. I think it's incredibly vibrant, lively, it's young, energetic. Lifestyle is second to none. It's walkable, bikeable, 5 beaches, 3 ski hills, unbelievable mountain biking, great sailing, you name it. Vancouver's got it all.
Definitely. What about for the tech sector? Maybe talk a little bit about what kind of companies we have and
Yeah,
how
I mean,
it's been evolving.
if the developers and young people want to make an impact, want to make a difference, they should come to Vancouver. There's some amazing, innovative, creative, and sustainable companies here in Vancouver. And if making a difference, a significant contribution to some meaningful technology is important to them, then this is where they're going to find it.
Fantastic. What kind of companies specifically? Any ones that come to mind, or any?
Well, Vancouver is already a global center of excellence for hydrogen fuel cells and fuel cell technologies. It's also a global leader in wireless innovation and wireless applications. The gaming sector is very significant here, one of the top 10 gaming clusters anywhere in the world. Electronic Arts is a big part of that story.
Great example.
So there's some good ones. We have Hootsuite is here, of course, for social media, enterprise platforms. Avigilon is a very fast-growing emerging company. It just goes on and on.
Fantastic. And what about the trends? The last kind of 5 to 10 years, what have you been seeing as kind of emerging tech trends or economic trends? Have things been getting better? If so, how much?
Well, the technology is really taking a leadership position here in the Vancouver economy. There's more than 90,000 jobs in the region, in the province.
90,000.
90,000 jobs. So that's more than all the jobs in forestry and mining and oil and gas combined. So it represents, I'm going to guess, around 14 billion in our GDP. It's a significant contributor. It's very high-paying jobs. And
what kind of salaries did you?
yeah, that's a good question. I don't know all of the salary ranges, but they're well above average. They're high-paying jobs. Entry-level jobs could be in the $80,000-$85,000, and it goes up from there.
Oh, fantastic. And as far as bang for your buck in a city like Vancouver, that can go a long way. Do you feel like there's a lot of things you can do in the city without having to spend too much money? Like you said, it's walkable, livable. You mentioned sailing. What kind of things that do you think that make Vancouver a more fun, open city?
Well, the outdoor recreation is fantastic. One of the differences between outdoor recreation here and the rest of the continent is that it's very accessible. You can walk to the beaches. You're within 20 to 30 minutes of your ski hills. You could be mountain biking in 15 minutes. So it's right here. It's accessible, it's affordable, and you've got the lifestyle and the time to be able to do those sorts of things. And many companies have bike lockers that make it even easier to get around. You don't need to be stuck in traffic or stuck in the freeways or way out in an American-style suburb.
Yeah, that's true. And I bike to work, so I definitely can attest to that.
Yeah.
And what about for entrepreneurs, for people who are looking to maybe start a business and bring their business to Vancouver? Are there any advantages or kind of things that Vancouver does to make that easier?
It's a really supportive environment for entrepreneurs. I mean, there's a lot of different programs for technology incubation and acceleration services, but there's also some compelling tax incentives. So, for example, there's something called the SR&ED tax credit. That's SR and ED, so the Scientific Research and Experimental Development Tax Credit. So startups, if you're working in developing a technology or doing research, you could qualify for up to something like 54% on your labor costs.
Wow.
For those that are working on research. You can also, if you're in gaming or visual effects and animation, there's a digital animation visual effects tax credit. I think it's something around 17% of your production costs are refunded. There's even a business tax credit of up to 30% for investors. So those investors that are placing their bets on startups and entrepreneurial ventures, you could get 30% of your investment back through tax write-offs.
Wow, that sounds really compelling.
So it's very supportive in that regard. But the business environment in general is supportive. We've got the lowest corporate tax rate anywhere in the G8. We know our competitors in California are probably sitting around 42%, but up here in Vancouver, it's 26%.
Wow,
so a huge difference.
Wow, I've heard that this comparison, Vancouver is becoming the Singapore of North America. Is that something you would say is fair? Low tax, as you mentioned, really accessible kind of entry point to the continent?
I think we're completely different than Singapore. There's no comparison. We are a very Asian city. We're a very diverse population. The United Nations tells us we're the fourth most diverse demographic population in the world.
Wow.
Only Dubai and Brussels I think Toronto is up there as other economies with a diverse population.
Wow.
So that bodes really well for international trade, for connections to other global markets, to having a multilingual and multicultural workforce. All of those things bode really well.
Awesome. And I think we maybe talk a little bit about the immigration or just international flavor of Vancouver. Can you maybe talk a little bit about either companies that have been started by immigrants that you know, or international companies that are doing well in Vancouver? Anything come to mind there?
Well, you know, we're attracting a lot of global companies here now. We know that Amazon is expanding here, Microsoft is expanding here. We've got Sony ImageWorks has relocated their head office to Vancouver.
Wow.
So each of these groups of companies are in the hundreds, if not approaching 1,000 jobs. Samsung is here with several hundred people. SAP, of course, has been here for some time. So some great global companies that are here to access the talent, quite frankly.
And let's talk about the talent here. Do you feel like there's a strong talent pool? Maybe is there missing talent? How do you feel about that? The tech and
it's some of the best talent anywhere. We're told consistently that the engineering talent, the technical talent, is equal to anything you'll find anywhere else in the world. And because of the Canadian dollar and the exchange rate, companies can get access to that talent for at least a 20% discount.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I can think of Boeing and Aeroinfo as a good example of that.
That's right.
Yeah, coming up here. Great. And so how can someone get involved? Someone in Brazil right now watching, any words of advice or any specific channels or places you would advise them to go or to start looking, maybe on your website?
Yeah, certainly visit our website to learn more about the local economy. There's several job boards. We've been tracking roughly 3,000 job vacancies in various technology-related sectors, including digital media, visual effects, the broader tech scene. So there are plenty of jobs here to be filled. Some of them are specialized, but many are entry level as well. So my advice to foreigners, especially in Brazil, would be to search the job boards and start the application process. And if there's some interest, then there's a variety of ways to get work permits. Either under the Temporary Foreign Workers Program is one avenue. Another is through permanent residency application status. So
yeah, definitely.
All of that sort of information you can find on a number of websites.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have a lot of all those links at VanHack.com. I guess just my final question is, what is it that you guys are looking for? If someone would want to get in touch with Vancouver Economic Commission, what do you guys look for? If there's an entrepreneur in Brazil who wants to bring his company here, or something like that, what would be the ideal person or kind of thing to talk to you guys about?
Well, it's a pretty free and open economy, so it's not for us to judge what kind of companies should or should not come here. We work really hard to build an attractive business environment, and then those companies will self-select as to why they would come here. There's any number of reasons. Obviously, Vancouver is well positioned for the Asian marketplace, so if you're interested in an access point to the Asian markets, then Vancouver is a great location. If you're coming the other way from Europe or Asia and you're looking to access the west coast of North America, again, Vancouver is a great location, given our cost structure, much, much cheaper, and yet still having access to the entire North American marketplace.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Okay.
I really appreciate it.
Great. I hope that worked out.